Hello and welcome to this video. Today we are looking at JavaScript Array Reduce function. So what reduce does is that it reduces your original array into a single value or a group of values. Like for example, if you want to get the total amount of cost of your cars array, then you can use reduce. Reduce will iterate through each item in your cars array and it will keep on accumulating the cost property and is going to return the total cost of all the cars in your cars array. So how do we do that? Let's look at it through an example. Let's say I have a constant and say total cost. Alright, so here I'll take my original array and call reduce. So reduce will take a callback function which has two parameters. One is the accumulator, which is going to accumulate the condition on which we are running it, and second is the current value. So current value is basically the current item of your array. So what it will do is, and it also takes a second parameter, which is the initial value. Now our requirement is to get the sum of all the cost. So the initial value from which the accumulator start accumulating the property values should be 0. So I'll explain that in a second. So now what we're going to do here is that our accumulator is basically going to accumulate all the cost of each car. So now we have current dot cost. Alright, and we are going to return this accumulator. Alright, so we're going to return our accumulator after every single iteration. So I'll try to go step by step and try to explain what's happening here. So let's assume that reduce is iterating through the cars array. So now we land at our first array. Alright, so our first array first item of the array, and the first item is car Swift. Alright, and which has cost 100. So when it comes here for the first time, now accumulator does not have anything in it. Accumulator's initial value is 0. Alright, so the first time when we are coming to this statement, accumulator's value is 0. So here the equation becomes 0 plus the current item's cost. Current item is the car Swift and the cost of current item is 100. So after the execution of this line, accumulator will have the value of 100. Alright, now we return that value back to reduce. Now the second time when reduce iterates through and gets the second item, accumulator already has a value of 100. Alright, so the second time we come at car Tiago and we come at this statement where accumulator already has value of 100. Now it is not going to look at the initial value. Initial value was only for the initial iteration or initial line or initial item. Okay, now accumulator already has value of 100 and the second item already also has value 100. So now after the execution of this line, accumulator is going to have value of 200. Alright, so like that it will keep, and it is going to return 200 to reduce. So the third time when reduce comes in with the third item, accumulator will already have value of 300. Similarly, the fourth time accumulator will already have value 400 because all the cost is 100. So assuming the cost will be different, the accumulator will have different values each time. Okay, basically it will be incremented values. Alright, so at the end accumulator is going to have value 400 because we have 4 items which all have cost 100. Alright, so let's say if we want to console log it, alright, and we pass total cost over here. Now if I run this, you'll see or returns a number with value 400. So basically total cost is a number. So now this is how you can return a number, but reduce can also return an array or an object. Now we'll see how reduce can return an array and in what condition we'll use it. Alright, let's say we want to group all the items of our car based on engine type. Okay, so we want to see how many petrol engine cars are there and how many diesel engine and how many electric cars are present in our cars array. Alright, so to do that, let's change the property name as engine groups. Okay, and we're going to call the reduce function on our cars. We are still gonna have accumulator and current values passed to our callback function, but here instead of initial value 0, now let's try to understand what is the initial value. The initial value will tell reduce that what kind of value should be returned after the entire operation is completed. So now we are expecting an array, so the reduce should have an initial value of an empty array. Alright, so now reduce knows that it's working on an array and it's supposed to return an array. So based on what we write here, it is going to create a new array and going to return to us. So what we are trying to do is we want an array of count of engine types. Like we want to find out how many petrol engine cars are there and how many diesel engine, how many electric engine cars are there. And this can be a long list. You don't even know how many types are there, right? Now this is a very simple example, so you already know that there's only petrol type, diesel type and electric type. Alright, so now we have to write an if statement saying current accumulator. Okay, it's an array. It is looking for current dot engine type. Okay, so if it finds that particular engine type, it's gonna add accumulator current dot engine type, okay, plus plus. All right, let me finish this statement and I will explain what's happening over here. If it doesn't find it, it's gonna say accumulator dot current dot engine type equal to 1. Alright, and at the end we have to return the accumulator for the next iteration. Alright, so now I'll try to explain what's happening over here. Okay, so now we have a cars array and we are going to iterate through it and we are going to reduce that array into a new array which is just going to maintain the count of each type of engine types in our array. Okay, so let's say we come here for the first time and let's say the first item is Swift, which has an engine type petrol. Alright, so we come here for the first time. Now accumulator does not know what its initial value should be, so it looks for the second parameter and it understands that accumulator is an empty array for the first time. Alright, so the first instance it checks for an item of type petrol in its array, but accumulator is an empty array, so it's gonna go to the else statement and it is going to add an item of type petrol in its array and it's going to assign value 1 to it. Okay, now and we return that accumulator. Now when the second iteration happens, accumulator's value is already an array which has petrol with value 1. Okay, now it comes here for the second item. Now second item is of engine type diesel. Alright, so accumulator checks whether it has diesel property in it, which it doesn't. It goes back to else. It adds the diesel property again over here. Now it comes for the third time and it finds that it's of type petrol, so it checks here petrol and it already has that, so it's just going to increment that value. So now here in the accumulator will have an property of type petrol with value 2 after this execution. Alright, so let me just console log this to give you a better idea how this works. So if I run this, so you'll see here that we have 2 petrol engine cars, 1 diesel engine car and 1 electric engine car. So that's what is expected, right? So we have 2 petrol, 1 diesel, 1 electric. Alright, so this is how you can use reduce to do some sort of grouping on your original array. I hope this was informative. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to hit that like button, and thanks for watching this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.